Today, we are all Arsenal fans, right? What's going on, guys? ¿Cómo están? BugaLuis here, and welcome back to another video here on the channel. Real Madrid have been knocked out of the Champions League. We have the two semi-finals, PSG versus Arsenal and Inter de Milan versus Barcelona. We'll talk about that and more, but first, I would have never guessed this. I honestly would have never seen this happen. There was a possibility, perhaps, and it was always going to come down to Real Madrid shooting themselves in the foot, particularly Carlo Ancelotti. Like, how are you going to play two legs of the quarterfinals without calling up Vinícius, Mbappe, and Rodrigo? Like, how are you not going to call up your best players? They weren't even in the squad. That's ridiculous decision making by Ancelotti, if we're being completely honest. I do not understand that. We're going to analyze that and much more, particularly the semi-finals now that we got them as well. PSG versus Arsenal, Inter versus Barcelona. So yeah, let's get right into it. So let me set you the scene, right? The whole week people have been talking about La Remontada. This whole week people have been talking about how Real Madrid are going to come here. They're going to play their best game of the season, how they're gonna come back from 3 goals down. Dude, that only happens with one team in Spain, and that is Barcelona. This is the team that, well, Real Madrid put out, okay? They went with Thibaut Courtois, they went with Lucas Vázquez, they went with Raúl Asensio, Rudiger and David Alaba, Tchouaméni, Valverde back into the midfield. That's probably the only one thing I think Carlo Ancelotti did correct here. I don't understand why, if Ceballos is in the bench, probably he's fit enough to start. Just put him in front of Tchouaméni. I mean, he has been one of your best players. Vinícius Júnior, Bellingham, Rodrigo, and then up top, Kylian, where's Mbappe? Arsenal, we go with David Raya, Jurien Timber, Saliba, Kivior, Luis Kelly, Martin Odegaard, Thomas Partey, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, Mikel Merino, and Gabriel Martinelli. I just clocked in that Merino has gotten 2 assists in this. Wow. So probably I will change my notes here. I had Declan Rice as the man of the match, but probably Merino, after seeing this, he has to go there. He directly was influential in both goals. So probably Merino, he's having a revolutionary, like rise to stardom as a false 9 or whatever he's playing at the moment. The key thing as to why Real Madrid looked so lost today, I would say this is just not a bad night. It's an identity crisis. It's something much more than that. Real Madrid always are the team that will come down to your stars. It's always come down to the moment where they're going to bail you out. Vinícius Júnior, Mbappe, Rodrigo. I do not care what sort of fan you are. You must be the most analytical person out there in the world. You must be the most relaxed, chilled fan possibly ever on YouTube. You have to both agree that Real Madrid really do not have a proper style of play. They'll tend to just stick to the counter-attacking team that they are. And whenever they do have the ball, they will, as you can see today, not have that many options or clear path as to how to attack. The very first few minutes, they were all out. Yes, the onslaught was coming in. The Bernabeu, the lid was closed for Rice cooking better, but they didn't really create any sort of threat. It reminds me of when a team doesn't have, a plan. I do not know if Ancelotti really sat down, analyzed this Arsenal team, and told individually to each of their players, okay, Mbappe, look here, Luis Kelly is going to act as a false 9. I want you to drift over there to the right-hand side flag and win the space in behind Luis Kelly. You know what? To win that space, Rodrigo, I need you to, come a little bit deeper, come a little bit into the midfield. There's none of that with Real Madrid. I think Ancelotti just literally picks a team and lets them play, and that's what happened tonight. There was no Vinícius Júnior, no Mbappe, no Rodrigo, and the truth, let's be honest, the truth might sting. I would say that this player so far, when the team is not clicking or the emotions are not running, they really do not turn up. I did not see a single thing out of any of these players. And of course, it's easy to say that for these attackers, to pinpoint them out, to criticize them, oh, they did not have their best game. Well, let's not do that. Let's give a little bit of praise to what Arsenal did. I think that Saliba, apart from the mistake that he had an imperious performance. He was one of the best center backs I've seen in a very long time in a full 90. He was really, really good, really solid. So many tackles, so many aerial duels won. He was constantly getting the best out of Mbappe. There was a situation where he just got behind him and the ball and remind me of the best, version of someone like Virgil van Dijk that I've seen in that 2019 season. That was insane. I do see Saliba reaching that sort of peak level. He has the talent, he has the intelligence, he has the physicality, he has it all. In the sense of Jakub Kiwior, this is going to be a player that I would almost 100% was going to criticize. I almost said it in my predictions. I say that, hey, Kiwior is going to be a player who is going to be very much, the focal point, where I would say, Real Madrid, you have to go and attack that player. You have to go and attack and get the best out of him. He's not experienced at this higher caliber of games, of matches. And you know what? He had a very solid performance. The same with Miles Luis Kelly. I think he was out of this world. This is a game where, in Spanish, you say consagratorio. This is one of those games where you just put down your stamp in Europe and say, hey, look at me, look at what I can do, look at the kid that I am. People talk about Lamine Yamal, people talk about Cubarsí. I'm not putting him in the same level, but hey, you are 18 years old and you're performing at the highest of levels. You are performing now to the standards of a semifinals of the Champions League. So kudos to you, because he's playing really that good. So yeah, all of those things come together. And for me, the best defender that they had, particularly because of the job that he had to do and the way that he accomplished it, has to 100% be Jurrien Timber. I think that Jurrien Timber was handled Vinícius Júnior so good. Not a single one-on-one chance, not a single duel Vinícius won. He couldn't dribble past Timber once in 180 minutes. That's a tremendous feat that so far I've only seen Araujo do. So to see Timber do it as well, it's quite a big monumental achievement. So yeah, good on you, good on Arsenal, good on a good defense, and particularly because they frustrated Real Madrid. They knew how to beat them, and I think that's the difference of what a coach can make, and how much really, if you get down to those details, how much can impact the game. Of course, the way that Carlo Ancelotti does things is incredibly good, it's incredibly amazing, but let's be honest, sometimes you do need a little bit of a tactical adjustment that maybe he just doesn't have. Another player that I want to signal out is Declan Rice. I think that he's been certainly the best player out of these two legs. But in this game, we saw the different side of Declan Rice. We saw the other one, right? We saw the side of Declan Rice that is the defensive midfielder, the box-to-box, the one who's going to cover the most ground. And I think that that's part of his game that perhaps after what we saw last week, people will tend to forget, or people will tend to kind of push aside. But today he was incredible. He really, really was. So watch now on screen. I have here the average positions of the players, and I'm going to click on number 41 and just look at where he has been. He has been absolutely all over the field. He even dropped in between the two center backs. He came all the way to the area. I think it is a player who is very committed to the team. And that is one thing that when I see Arsenal, I look at Real Madrid and I just don't see. And that's the word team, There's no I in team. Team is particularly made up of players who are ready to be humble, to work very, very hard. And you have every single one of these players tracking back. I click on Miles Kelly, he's there. I click on Martinelli, he's there. I click on Odegaard, he's there. I click on Saka, he's there. All of those players working hard, and I think that that's what really got Arsenal over the line in a game like this. I continue to say this. This wasn't just a defeat. This was a lesson. This was a masterclass from Arsenal. Not because they played the best football, because they make Real Madrid look ordinary. Real Madrid look like a bottom league team. That's what they look like. And quickly, guys, if you give me the chance, I just want to react to the key moments of this game, because there were quite a lot. So very early into the game, right, we saw Arsenal get a penalty call, and this should have killed the game. We see Asensio grabbing there Declan Rice. You can see it on screen, and I think that's a penalty. I do think that's penalty. The commentator, you could definitely hear in South America, he was a little bit biased, but I do think that's a penalty, because even though the ball is not being played there to that area of the field, you cannot do that, and it was never going to be on danger, and Arsenal got gifted something out of nowhere. But Saka could have converted, right? Saka tried to Panenka Courtois. We all saw what happened. And I don't know what happened through Saka's mind. Very weird decision making. I mean, after the penalties you've missed before, I would just, blast it. I would just make sure that went in. And Saka decided opposite of that. Then there's this also penalty that was almost given to Real Madrid. And this one, for me, if it was given, dude, it was taking so long. It took like 7 minutes to resolve. Is this one on Declan Rice on Mbappe, the last two people here on the wall? And that's not a penalty in here, not in England, not in China, not in Uzbekistan, not in Australia, not anywhere. That's not a penalty. What happened in the previous occasion, seeing what happened with Asensio and Rice. So I think that this is probably why he gave it, but good on the VAR because they actually went back and looked through it and they realized it was not a penalty. Then we have the goal from Bukayo Saka, the 1-0 that came in the 60-something minute. I'm not quite sure, but I was just watching Arsenal play, and this is a moment in the game where Arsenal did not have the most control of it, all right? The momentum was not going in favor of Arsenal, and they just built up this play very nicely with this smooth pass from Merino. And Saka sees Courtois running out, and what he does, he dinks it. He dinks it over Courtois. Goodness, the ball's on the skid, dude. That's insane. And with that goal, I think the game was done. The game was done. I thought it was done. I was celebrating. In the group chat, my friends were already texting like, hey, to the Real Madrid fans over there, saying like, hey, you're gone, like that. And what happens?
What's he thinking there?
Saliba just does the most ridiculous mistake, and Vinícius Júnior gets the ball in their area and scores. Scores the very first goal that Real Madrid has ever scored against Arsenal, and the only one, hope. I'm not an Arsenal fan. I'm just taking the character that I am an Arsenal fan for today. And then finally we have this last goal, the goal from Martinelli with another incredible assist from Mikel Merino, who's just finding himself in this incredible new position as a false nine. And that goal doesn't, they're killed, they're dead with 3 minutes to go. Done. Game, set, and match. Real Madrid, you walk back home, well, you're at home. A goal, amazing. Sit down, relax, and Bellingham, furious. And Ancelotti doesn't even know what to do. My goodness, he doesn't even know what time of the day it is. Just take a look at this picture. I just saw this. Incredible sauce, just aura from Saka, imitating Henry from the last time that Real Madrid got beaten by Arsenal. Real Madrid, this is the first time that they scored a goal. The first goal came from Vinícius Júnior after that mistake from Saliba. That's the first goal they've ever scored against Arsenal. Goodness me, like that's hilarious. That's insane. Anyhow, we have to talk about the semifinals now of the Champions League. Let me pull up what is, I already saw, you saw the two badges there, but I want to pull up the bracket. Let me see if I can just go Champions League. There we go, guys. There we go. That's the bracket. That's the road to Munich. There we go, guys. There we go. That's the road to Munich, Arsenal versus PSG and Barcelona versus Inter. So, of course, I want to give you quickly my impressions just of the other game of Inter versus Bayern. I gotta say that I was very surprised with Inter. I really think they are gonna be a team that struggles with Barcelona. Like, they're gonna make Barcelona struggle. That's what I'm trying to say. They're really gonna make Barcelona struggle. They're really gonna make them struggle. I think Lautaro Martinez was a tremendous player for them today. He was outstanding. The goal that he scored was really, really good. Always on point. Declan Rice gets back-to-back matches against Real Madrid. What? Oh my God, that's insane. He does deserve it though. He does deserve it. But like I've been saying, I think Inter are a very complete team. And I think people are going to be surprised by how good they play. I actually do think that their way of playing may definitely surprise Barcelona a bit. And to see that they got that big of a result against Bayern Munich away from home, I do think that is a very big indication that they are on the right path to do something very special. Maybe in La Liga, maybe in the Champions League, we don't know, but that's the final four, guys. That's the final four. Interesting, the four best players, I agree, from those teams, and I'm excited, guys. I'm just really, really excited. I do think that there's one thing that all of these sides have that Real Madrid doesn't, and that's team. They do know how to play together. You look at Lautaro Martinez, you look at Rafinha with Barca, Saka with Arsenal, Dembele with PSG. All of them have a clear identity. Luis Enrique with PSG, Arteta with Arsenal, a little bit more defensive. Flicks Barcelona very intense, and inside is Inter is also very, very intense, but quite organized as well, free flowing. And yeah, you just look at these four teams, and I think they all deserve to be here. It's been a while since we had the four best teams, I think, in Europe at the moment. You could say that maybe Arsenal for Real Madrid, you could have interchanged that. You could have maybe put somebody else there, but I think it is fair how it is. All very much deserved after the performances that they put out in the Champions League. And let's wait and see who's going to progress to the final, guys. To the final. We're going to be there, of course, to cover this. But just one more moment of silence, I guess, then for Real Madrid, huh? They get stuck. They don't progress. They beat the Atletico. They don't progress. They lost against Arsenal. I always had a feeling maybe Arsenal could do it because they always tend to do bad against sides like that. And now it's gonna be interesting. Is it gonna be PSG? Is it gonna be Arsenal? I want an Arsenal Barcelona final. I really do want that. I want to repeat that final from 2006. Last time the semi-final was also in Milan for Barcelona, and the other semi-final, well, Arsenal go to the final. And I think it's repeating itself quite a bit. You know, the story might repeat itself. So yeah, guys, see you in the next one. Take care. Ciao, ciao.